Well, hey, you guys, I have seen a lot of debate on the internet recently about renting versus buying. So whether it's a home, a car, or even clothes and furniture, it seems that everyone has a very strong opinion about this topic. And this is definitely something that I get questions about. People want to know my stance on whether it's a smart financial decision to rent. So today I'm going to set the record straight. When is it a good time to rent? What are the pros and cons of buying versus renting? And I'm not just talking about real estate, so stick around to the end to hear my number one favorite and least favorite reasons to rent. There are obviously some money principles that I have a very firm stance on, but sometimes it depends on the financial season that you're in. So first, let's talk about the question that's on everyone's mind, housing. And this may come as a surprise to you, but I actually think renting a house and buying a house both can be very solid options. If you're considering buying a house, 4 things need to be true with your money. I want you debt-free, have a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. You have enough cash saved for the down payment, so anywhere from 5 to 20% is ideal. And that your mortgage is no more than 25% of your take-home pay. So once you have all your ducks in a row, it's time to weigh the other pros and cons. So for example, here are some pros of buying instead of renting. Well, you actually own your home. The money that you're putting towards housing every month is ultimately going back in your pocket as your home's value and net worth increase. And you can cash in on your investment. If you buy a home for $350,000 and decide to sell it 5 years later with an average 5% annual increase, it will be worth around $447,000. So that gives you almost $100,000 of free money for your next house or financial goal. It also comes with some tax advantages. Many costs of owning a home are tax deductible, like property taxes and mortgage interest. You have privacy and freedom to renovate, which gives you the ability to truly make it your own house. And you determine your housing costs. So rent costs go up significantly year to year, which can be a major burden on the budgets. On the other hand, here are some pros of renting a home. More flexibility. It's more difficult to travel and relocate when you own a home. So when you're in a season where you're not ready to settle down, renting might be the best. Less maintenance and expenses. When the HVAC goes out, you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to get a new one. You have to save up cash for a down payment and closing costs. If you have more important priorities with your money, like paying off debt or getting an emergency fund, a home purchase might need to wait for a little bit. And it's cheaper short term. So, with the exception of popular cities, it's typically cheaper to pay rent than to pay a mortgage. Plus, renting insurance is always cheaper than homeowners insurance. All right, next, let's talk about another popular renting trend, vehicles, which is leasing versus buying, is just as much of a debate as it is with the housing market of renting or buying. The only difference is I have a pretty strong opinion with this one because honestly, I could see why it might be tempting to lease a car. A lower monthly payment for a brand new car sounds great if you're on a tight budget, but leasing a car is never financially a wise move, and here are some reasons. Unlike homes, cars are a depreciating asset. Any money you're throwing towards that payment isn't actually benefiting you in the long run. There are strict mileage limits. If you go over that limit, then you're charged a flat rate for every extra mile that you drive, which drastically limits travel options and work commutes and other things like that. Your payments never end. I'm not a fan of regular car payments either, but at least with those, they eventually end and you own your vehicle. With leasing, you're stuck paying until you return the car. And companies can hike up interest rates and you have no idea how much of that is going towards the payment of the car versus how much you're actually putting away when it comes to the interest payment because they don't disclose that. And dealerships can penalize you for wear and tear, but you have limited clarity on what those expectations are. They can take one look at your vehicle and determine that you have to pay extra fees because of some vague fine print in the clause that you were unaware of. Now, these are just a couple of the major downfalls when it comes to leasing a car. And trust me, it is just a money trap. I wouldn't do it. But transportation is a basic need, so here is what I would do instead. I would pay cash for a car. It may not be a great car, but I would get to this point where I don't have car payments. So if you have a car payment and your car loan is 50% or more of your total income, you have too much car. So again, a lot of people are underwater with their cars right now. So you may, if you sell that, have to take out a smaller loan for the difference. But I'll get to this point where I don't have car payments because, I hate car payments. Again, you're paying interest on something that's going down in value. So paying for a car in cash, I know that may seem like a crazy idea, but you can get a crappy car for cheap, you guys. So I made a list of 10 cars under $10,000. So I will put a link for it below. Okay, we've covered housing, we've covered cars. So let's talk about the number one best and the number one worst things to rent. So let's start with the best. If I had to choose, renting an outfit for a special occasion is a solid reason to rent instead of buy. So whether it's a tux for your friend's wedding, or maybe you need a formal gown when it comes, maybe your kids are going to prom or you're going to a nice event. When you go and rent those pieces of clothing, it's amazing because they're done after that. It's so great. Instead of spending $500 on a nice, dress for your work Christmas party, you can pay $75, have a great one, wear it one time, and then, let it send off into the mail and it's gone. So I always find that this is a great place to rent, and it's something I've done in the past, rent the runway, and I think it's great because again, if you're gonna have a big statement dress, you're probably not gonna wanna wear it over and over and over. It's fun to kind of pick and choose different ones. All right, the number one worst thing that you can rent. If you have any guesses, now's the time. Because in my opinion, it's furniture. I bet there are some of you that didn't know that this was an option, but it is an option, not a good option, but a lot of people will lean on this option if they need to furnish a home fast and don't have the cash to pay for everything up front or even, go take out 90 days, same as cash at the furniture store. There are rent-to-own places. And again, this is a alternative that people use because, again, they don't have a great credit score or the cash to be able to buy furniture. But let me tell you, just say no. Instead, ask some friends, talk to family members, coworkers, get some old furniture if you need to redo it, or have a blank house for a while. That's fine. That is better than renting. My husband Winston and I, when we moved into our first home, there were rooms that were unfurnished for months, let alone years, because we didn't have the money to pay for the furniture. So we were like, you know what? We're going to just get what we need for now, and then we will furnish as we go. But there is a reason people practically give away their restoration hardware cloud couches on Facebook Marketplace because furniture loses value faster than cars, and it's never going to be a wise investment to rent because also there are fees, sometimes interest added into this stuff. Just stay away from that because at the end of the day, your goal is to own what you have. But I also understand that the option to rent or even lease everyday items comes out of necessity sometimes. And if that's currently you, I totally get it. You're not alone, but there are tools to help you when it comes to your money and your financial journey so you can be on the other side of this equation. And I really recommend downloading EveryDollar. This is an easy-to-use budgeting app, and it literally teaches you how to budget so you can find the cash that you need for life's essential expenses. So there is a link in the description for you to check out, along with some other great resources that we have talked about in this episode. So, all right, you guys, I hope that's helpful when it comes to the discussion of renting versus buying. And always remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.